Yo, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Reasoning with Rao. And guys, I'm in this weird stage right now where I feel like I have some ideas, right, that could have a massive impact on the world, and then I have this feeling that no matter what, I'm gonna have no impact on the world. And the reason I'm saying this is because in the last couple of weeks, I've been in this crazy rabbit hole with AI and the future of AI and all of this stuff, right? And I feel like some of the ideas I have, if they were actually delved into and maybe I had some discussions with people about them, then we could raise some really interesting points about AI. But at the same time, I feel like no one's going to see any of it. So part of me is like, this video is useless. But then another part of me is like, if the right person sees this video, then we could create a dialogue about AI or the future of AI that could actually be really important because everybody's using AI. Now, to put it simply, I am an AI hater. As the title of this video will tell you, I'm an AI hater, right? But not a hater in the same way that most people use the word hater. Like, I don't prey on the downfall of AI. Like, I actually use it in certain aspects, right? I mean, I tore my hamstring like a month ago and I was trying to build a plan of things that I can do to get back to full fitness. I used AI to help me build a plan, right? I used AI to help me figure out some exercises or how much I should run or if I should even kick a football in the garden, that kind of thing. But there are some things about AI that I think are quite bad, right? And there's this thing that I do, I think, when I have a problem with something, I try and raise the issues with it in a way that means that we don't stop using the thing in question, but we scrutinize it a bit more. For example, my undergrad dissertation was on the ethics of self-help. Now, before I started writing that my idea on self-help was that it was just bad and that people should stop buying self-help books and they should stop watching self-help videos and that it was all bad. But I wrote the dissertation from the lens of, look, this thing might be bad, so we should consider it, instead of putting my opinion all over it. And I think that meant that the essay that I actually wrote in the end is valuable regardless of who reads it. People who like self-help, people who don't like self-help. And I think that trying to see things from, I guess, a neutral sense or a neutral point of view, even when you have a perspective, means that the work that you do can be really valuable. So then fast forward a year and I wrote my master's dis on the ethics of cancel culture, and it was a similar thing. I had perspectives on cancel culture before I wrote it, but I wrote it from the I guess from the perspective that the way that we treat cancel culture might need to change, as opposed to, here are my thoughts on cancel culture, everybody should listen to me. And I have a very similar point of view on AI, right? I know I said in my last video that I was going to talk about it a lot, and I tried not to ramble, and I will try not to here again today. But I think the future of AI, or the future of the way that we use AI, is something that, regardless of how I feel about it, is something that we just have to consider. Now, everything I'm going to talk about from here on out, I've essentially spoken about in more detail and a bit more formally over on my Substack. So I'll leave it on the screen somewhere. And if you are kind of interested in what I think, or not even what I think, and just it in general, because I've done a little bit of research or whatever, then go read the article. But like I say right at the beginning of the article, my problems with AI are exclusively in the creative and educational fields, right? I think AI is so good in places like science, mathematics, medicine, right? Because there are just some things that AI does better than humans at a similar rate of accuracy, in a sense. So like algorithmic things, AI is just better than humans at doing it. And in some of the research that I've done and the papers I've read, that's the kind of thing that is just clear, right? There are certain things that AI is better than humans at. And I'm not one of those people that's like, oh my God, I hate that the computers are doing it and not humans. No. If the AI is better, then the AI is just better. However, when you're learning and when you're being creative, AI is not as good at doing those non-algorithmic things. Or I feel like there's a very fine line between what AI is good at and humans just being lazy. And I think because people see how good AI is at these algorithmic things, they think that AI is good at everything. And I don't think that's true. So let's start with education, right? I think learning with AI is fundamentally flawed. Okay, so I had to re-record this section and a little bit that you'll see in like 10 seconds because the audio is messed up. But the first time I found out about AI, what AI could do, was in my second year at uni, which was like 3 years ago now. And I realized that people were going to seminars where we'd have to do some reading and then bring some ideas, and they hadn't read it. They just had AI do it for them. And I used to spend so much time trying to understand these like ridiculous papers, but I just sometimes couldn't get it. So I was like, you know what, as you do, let me see if AI can help me. Maybe AI can help me understand something that, I just don't get. But the thing is, I found that whenever I used AI to help me do my reading summary or help me get an answer for something that I didn't quite get on my own, I didn't understand it nearly as well as when I just read it myself and put in the hard work to try and figure it out. Now, don't get me wrong, you can definitely use AI to build plans that allow you to still do the learning yourself. You definitely could use AI to, I guess, streamline your education. But that implies that all human beings like the process of learning. And I don't think that's true. Put it this way, right? If you're reading a book and it's really challenging and you really just can't wrap your head around it, you could just ask AI to write a summary for you there and then, and all of a sudden, all of your problems are gone. So what learning with AI assumes is that when things get hard with learning, people will still try and stick it out and not just use the shortcut that is AI. Now, don't get me wrong, you can go into anything in life with a level of willpower saying that you're going to do it yourself, you're not going to cheat, you're not going to use any shortcuts. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty and you're reading a page in 1600s language, like how on God's green earth are you going to sit there if it takes you a week to try and figure it out when you know you could just ask AI and it would just give you the answer? And in some cases, this isn't that bad, right? Just knowing the answer to something that is really difficult to understand is not that bad. Like I was trying to fix the shower in my house the other day, right? I asked AI, how do I do it? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know how to fix a shower. Like I'm not well versed in fixing showers, but in that situation, knowing how to do it from this one bespoke instance was very, very useful. But the reason I say it's bad in education is because when you go to write an essay on the reading summary that you hypothetically got from AI, you're essentially saying to people, once you get your degree or once you write your essay and hand it into your lecturer, that you know about that thing. Essentially, if after using AI to fix my shower, I went and said to other people, hey, I know how to fix showers, I feel like that would be a problem, right? But when you use your AI-based reading summary to write an essay and hand it into your lecturer, you're essentially saying to your lecturer that you understand the reading, but you don't. And this is where things can get kind of bad, right? Because anytime I went to a seminar and had a discussion with a classmate or a course mate or a lecturer on things that I didn't do myself or, things that were prompted to me by AI, I received the same kinds of responses or remarks or congratulations, those kinds of like nice things that you get when you have good conversations with people as when I did the work on my own. And when you're repeatedly rewarded for doing essentially no work, what is the incentive to do any of the work? And I think that harks back to what I said a few minutes ago about the fact that learning with AI implies that people just enjoy the process of learning. That even though you could get the same marks for an AI reading summary as a human-based reading summary, that just because you enjoy the process of learning and reading the book and writing the reading summary, that you would choose to do that over using AI. So the future of education is really under threat because people might just use AI over and over and over because they seem to be getting the same, if not better results than when they did stuff on their own. But enough about education, right? That's my take on education. Creativity is where things get a little bit more sticky. Now, some of you who've been watching these videos for a long time will know that I love writing, right? I really enjoy, like writing's like one of my favorite things to do. And in fact, it's such a passion of mine that I sometimes go through long periods of not writing because it's so sacred to me that I can't do it if I'm not in the right mind space, or I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, like I said, writing to me is so cool, and people who can write are cool to me, and I feel really cool when I write. But on a place like Substack, which is where I publish some of my articles, some go to my website, some go to my Substack, I find that a lot of stuff on there is AI generated. And the problem with these posts is not that they're AI generated, is that you don't know if they're AI generated. And I think this is really to the testament of AI, is that you, for the most part, can't discern what's AI generated and not. Now, obviously, there are some clear red flags, right? There are some things that AI does that you can tell is AI generated, right? There is it's not A, it's B, it's the 1, 2, then 3, right? There are things AI does that it's just clear that it's AI. But that doesn't take away from the fact that these AI generated posts are actually kind of useful. Like, they give you pretty good insights into things that you otherwise would not have known, which means that a lot of people support a lot of AI generated posts because the content of the post is useful. But one of my problems with these AI accounts, or one of the many problems in my opinion with these AI posts and channels and whatnot, is that because people cannot tell that it's AI or human generated, they support it as if it is human generated. For example, there are these like faceless YouTube channels where it's like movies explained or baseball explained or basketball explained, and they're like stickman YouTube channels. I mean, if I can find any, I'll put them on the screen, right? But they are really, really good channels in terms of the content that they produce, right? I learn a lot from those videos. But if you go down into the comments, you'll see people commenting as if the person behind the account is some mastermind or some guru on the topic that they're making videos about. Now, obviously, that isn't true if it's AI generated. I mean, the person might know a lot, but it isn't their work that's going into the content and the views and the likes and the comments. And this is the part where I kind of become an AI hater, right? Is that I want people who are creative to be rewarded for their creativity. I mean, I think most people would agree that the best parts of media or content are things that go a little bit off script, right? The things that are personal to the person that you're watching. I mean, some of my favorite creators are my favorite creators because they do things that only they do. But at the same time, I'm not a hater in the sense that I want these AI channels to be defunded or demonetized or to be removed from the face of the earth. Like I said, some of them are really, really good. Like, they're really informative. I just think that there should be a way to discern or distinguish what is AI generated and not AI generated. Like, success does not have to be zero sum. I think this is something that like is just not, like, people don't talk about this in the modern society or the way that the world works now, is that people think that in order for one person to do well, someone has to not do well. That's just not true. Like, I would love it for every video that I put hours into and weeks of research, or every article that I write that's really deeply seated in something that I believe, to do well. But that doesn't mean that the article that's AI generated that does way better needs to be removed from the internet. Success, like I said, is not zero sum. You don't have to take away from somebody to give to somebody else. Like, I don't have to take away from AI creators to give to the real creatives that are out here writing for weeks. So yeah, this isn't me gatekeeping creative fields. Like, I don't think that you shouldn't be able to produce content or write articles or make videos if you can't do it without AI. There is a market for AI generated works. Like I said, those YouTube channels, those faceless YouTube channels that really do a good job at explaining simple things, there's a market for that. And maybe there just isn't a market for the kind of creative work that career creatives like myself or other small creators are trying to market. Maybe there just aren't that many people interested in the things that I want to write about or talk about. And if that is the case, then that's fair enough, right? But I think what isn't fair is for people who are using AI to create content to come across as if it's their own work. But yeah, like I said, I'm biased about AI, right? Obviously, there are things that I do that AI directly competes against, which means that I'm a little bit at odds with AI just fundamentally. But I think if you understand your biases before you bring arguments and then try to eliminate those biases by trying to find some neutral point of view, like I'm trying to do today, then the conversation becomes much more valuable. And in this case, we can come to some conclusion or bring up some questions like, if you use AI to create content, should you have to disclose it? Or is AI the perfect sous chef to creative people? And I just read this paper, or finished reading it a couple of days ago, about how AI impacts human creativity, right? And one of the conclusions that they draw is that AI is not creative on its own, right? So if you ask AI to do something creative, it can't do anything that hasn't already been done. But it might be the perfect assistant to someone who's trying to do something creative and just automate some of the mundane, ordinary tasks that we can't be bothered to do. Now, that paper, for example, is one that I agree with in some parts and disagree with others. So in this video, for example, you might agree with some of the things I said. Maybe you agree with my take on education, but don't with it on creativity. And if that's the case, then leave it in the comments, right? I feel like these are the kinds of things that if you continue talking to people about them and continue developing your ideas or your arguments, then we might actually come to some conclusion or be able to improve the way that we use things like AI in the future. Thank you for listening to my reasoning session. I think we're back to reasoning with Rao. Like I said in the last video, we'll be back to that. I hope that I can keep having the courage to put the camera up and talk about the things that I think might actually be important. Because like I said at the beginning, part of me is like, if I put the camera up and start talking, nobody cares. Or not even that nobody cares. Not enough people care that it's actually going to have any impact at all. But I think my fundamental philosophy, no pun intended, with making YouTube videos in the first place was, if there's like two people, or if there are two people who watch the video and it changes the way they think about things or life or whatever, then it's valuable. I did see this post the other day about people who are like creatives or art people, stop trying to change the world because it's just going to make you hate doing the stuff that you're doing. And I kind of resonate with that, because for the longest time I thought that the only valuable work that I would be doing in terms of articles or making videos was the stuff that would have a massive impact on a lot of people. But having an impact on 3 people is more than enough for it to be valuable. So yeah, hopefully I keep having the courage to just put the camera on and talk to you guys. But yeah, that's all I've got for you guys today. Leave all your thoughts in the comments, and yes, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.